Welcome to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. We unpack compelling sources, extract the most important nuggets, and explore the surprising facts that keep you hooked.
Yeah, we dig into the stuff so you don't have to read it all yourself.
Exactly. Today, we're diving deep into a single, really compelling Reddit thread from AmItheAsshole.
Oh, those are always interesting.
This one's titled AITA for not disclosing that I am not Christian.
Hmm.
Our mission today is to untangle the complexities, the stuff that comes up when personal beliefs, professional boundaries, and those unspoken assumptions collide, especially with commission work.
Right, like art commissions or things like that.
Precisely. The story centers on an artist, does custom artwork, and they've made their policy pretty clear.
Okay.
They say they don't discriminate against any subject unless it's racist, homophobic, otherwise hateful, or sexually disturbing.
Seems like a pretty standard, reasonable line to draw for creative work.
Totally. So this artist finishes a piece for a client. It's Christian iconography.
Like religious art.
Yeah, described as a beautiful ornate cross, a saint, and scripture in calligraphy. Sounds quite lovely, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the client was initially happy with it, paid for it, seemed like a smooth transaction, all done.
Okay, so where's the conflict?
Well, here's the twist. After the sale, like all wrapped up, the client just casually asks the artist about their favorite scripture.
Ah, okay. I think I see where this might be going.
Yeah. The artist, just being honest, says they don't really have one because I'm not a Christian and wouldn't really know which ones I'd like.
Oof, okay.
And that's when things took a sharp turn. The client got upset, said they felt lied to.
Lied to? But how? Was something misrepresented?
Not according to the artist. The client's reasoning was they had just assumed the artist was Christian.
Why? Because they did Christian art before.
Apparently, yeah. Based on previous Christian-themed work the artist had posted online. So the client's main complaint became that the art doesn't hold the same spiritual value because it wasn't made with faithful intention.
Wow. Okay. That's a significant leap. Faithful intention.
Right. The artist was clearly, taken aback. Their response was basically, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I do artwork for everyone.
Yeah.
And I am open to doing Christian artwork because it's for the client, not me.
Which seems like a professional stance. But yeah, that response really brings us to the heart of the dilemma the artist posted about on Reddit, which is, should I be disclosing if I don't share a certain faith when commissioned to do artwork for it, And maybe even broader, is just not disclosing your religion an issue if a client specifically wants to hire someone of the same faith?
It's such a thorny question.
It really is. It touches on transparency, these hidden expectations, and just what does it mean to provide a professional service?
Okay, so diving into the Reddit comments, they overwhelmingly sided with the artist. Like, huge consensus. NTA, not the asshole.
Right. That's common on that subreddit when the poster seems reasonable.
But why was that the consensus? Does that just completely dismiss the client's feelings?
Well, that's the thing. It raises this really important question. In any transaction, but especially for creative work, whose job is it to clarify these specific, non-obvious requirements? Like an artist's personal faith.
Yeah, that's not usually on the checklist, is it?
Exactly. Lots of comments were saying, look, if faithful intentions were that important, the client should have said so during negotiations.
Right, up front.
Yeah. As one person put it pretty bluntly, his failure to vet you is not your concern. This whole theme of invisible expectations, it just kept popping up.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't just about art, People shared stories. Like, how many folks are maybe culturally Christian, even if they're agnostic or atheist?
Yeah. They appreciate the traditions or the art, maybe, but don't hold the core beliefs.
Exactly. Or people shared personal stories about always being assumed to be Christian just based on how they look.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like, someone described themselves as a blonde, waspy-looking woman, that stereotypical Anglo-Saxon Protestant look, or someone who just seemed to exude an air of sunshine and rainbows, or even just by just looking like a regular person, whatever that means.
It's fascinating how quickly we categorize people based on, well, almost nothing. There was this one great comment comparing it to a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Oh, I love Curb. Which one?
Where Larry hires a lawyer just because he has a Jewish-sounding last name, assumes he's Jewish, and then gets really mad when he finds out he isn't.
Huh. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a perfect analogy. It really shows how assuming someone's identity can lead to totally misplaced anger.
It really does. And another powerful point that kept coming up was about the artist's portfolio. It just shows what clients have asked for, not who the artist is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One comment joked, if that was the case, I could be an ornithologist, a lawyer, and a plumber in one day, just based on the different projects they've done.
That's brilliant. And some of the humorous comparisons really hammered it home, too.
Like,
if straight girls can draw yaoi ships, that's fan art with male couples, and humans can draw animals, I'm pretty sure you can draw Christian artwork.
okay, fair point.
Or, my favorite, this one actually made me laugh. If they wanted a picture of an ice princess, do you have to be a talking snowman?
Okay, point taken. The skill is separate from being the thing itself.
Exactly. It just highlights that artistic skill often exists completely separately from personal belief or identity.
So, okay, assumptions aside, what about this client's main point? That the art lacked spiritual value without faithful intention. That's a pretty critical claim.
It really is. What does that even mean for art and belief? And who gets to decide if something is sacred?
Well, that's where the discussion got really interesting. That there's this clear tension, right, between the artist's professional skill, which was delivered, and the client's desire for, I guess, spiritual authenticity in the creation process itself. Several comments tackled this head-on. One argument was, look, any artist commissioned for money probably isn't making it purely with faithful intentions.
Because it's a job.
Right. They're primarily doing it for money. Someone even quipped, if he wanted someone to draw his art for the love of God, he needed to ask for volunteers at church.
A bit blunt, but you see the point.
Definitely. But there was nuance, too. Another comment acknowledged that, a single act can have multiple motivations.
Yeah.
An artist can create something because they love the process and because they're passionate about the subject and because it's their job. It's not always mutually exclusive.
Okay, so it's maybe a valid preference for the client to want that.
Yeah. The comment said it was a valid preference, but crucially, it's still on him to vet the artist for that specific quality.
Which brings us back to the assumption problem.
Exactly. And then there was this very practical solution suggested by several people.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Basically, the client can have their priest, pastor, or whoever pray over and bless the item.
Ah, okay. So add the spiritual element after the fact.
Right. The idea being that should give it whatever magic and spirituality they feel it needs, suggesting the value can be imbued later, regardless of who made it.
Interesting. And was that seen as, like, a genuine religious practice?
Well, one user who identified as Catholic clarified things a bit. They said asking God to bless something isn't magic in their view, but there is a functional difference between that and, say, a non-Christian concept of magic.
Okay.
And they added a great point. The architect and builders didn't need to be Christians for a house to be blessed by a priest.
That's a really good analogy. The creation and the blessing are separate acts.
Precisely. And interestingly, even one user who said they were an atheist actually empathized a bit with the client.
Really? How so?
They understood the sentimental desire for art made with shared passion. They compared it to, like, wanting fun art only from someone who's genuinely part of the fandom.
Okay, I can see that. You want someone who gets it?
Yeah. But even understanding that feeling, they still concluded it was the client's own fault for not asking.
So the responsibility still lands on the client side, in their view.
Overwhelmingly, yes.
This whole scenario, it really makes you think about history. Like, all the great religious art throughout the ages, were all those artists devout believers in the specific faiths they were painting or sculpting for?
That's a fantastic question. And yeah, if we zoom out to the bigger picture, lots of comments brought up art history to challenge the client's view.
Like who?
Well, the big one, cited again and again, was Michelangelo.
Ah, the Sistine Chapel guy.
Exactly. Working for the Pope, no less. Now, some comments initially claimed he didn't believe in the church, which actually sparked this funny little side discussion about Michelangelo being a Ninja Turtle or a guitarist.
A party dude. Cowabunga.
Totally. But then other more informed comments clarified that, no, Michelangelo was actually a devout Catholic.
Okay, so he was a believer.
Yes, but maybe with a complex relationship with the church institution itself. Some mentioned he was part of the secular Franciscan order.
What's that?
Basically living by Franciscan ideals, but not as a monk in a monastery. But the key point, regardless of the nuances of his faith journey, was that the work, like the Sistine Chapel, was absolutely commissioned. It illustrates how patronage, being hired to do it, was a massive driver, not just personal conviction.
So the money and the direction came from the church, even if his personal feelings were complex.
Precisely. And broadening out from just Michelangelo, the argument was made that the vast majority of awe-inspiring religious art from the Renaissance period was driven by commission rather than an artist's personal faith.
Wow, the vast majority.
Yeah. People pointed out that many of the most revered Christian works of art were created by non-Christian or non-religious people for money. And think about today, a huge percentage of Christian art goods are made by non-Christians. You know, those mass-produced crosses, nativity scenes.
Good point. Probably made in factories far away by people of many different beliefs or none.
Exactly. And here's another surprising fact that popped up in the comments.
Yeah.
Apparently, many of the best and most well-known U.S. Christmas songs were written by Jews.
Get out. Like which ones? Oh, wait. We probably shouldn't get sidetracked, but that's fascinating.
It really is. White Christmas, for instance. Irving Berlin. It's a powerful example of cultural contribution totally crossing faith lines.
Wow. It really makes you think about those anecdotes people shared, too.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the ones about joining religious groups not out of belief, but for access.
Oh, right. Like the theater professor who became Hindu.
Yeah, just to get into temples, to see plays for his research. Or that user who joined the LDS church just because they were curious about what went on inside the temples.
Right. It shows that sometimes engagement with religious culture or practice can be driven by other things entirely, like curiosity or academic need, totally separate from deep personal faith.
So, okay. This whole deep dive, stemming from just one Reddit post, it's really unpacked some huge questions about our assumptions, about what gives something value.
It really has, and it brings up that important practical question for all of us, you know? How do we navigate these situations where personal beliefs cross paths with professional services? Where are the boundaries of disclosure?
Yeah, what are the big takeaways here?
Well, from the whole discussion, I think there are a few sharp takeaways for you, the listener, to really consider.
Okay. Huevos.
First big one. In professional transactions, assumptions are liabilities. Basically, if a creator's personal belief is genuinely crucial for how you see their work, it's really your job as the client to ask about it explicitly.
Don't just assume.
Exactly. The creator isn't like a mind reader and isn't necessarily obliged to disclose something personal unless asked, especially if it's not directly related to the deliverable skill.
Okay, takeaway one, ask, don't assume.
Yeah.
What's next?
Second key insight. Artistic skill and personal conviction are generally separate things. An artist's ability to create something to spec, to meet the requirements, that's usually independent of whether they personally subscribe to the underlying faith or philosophy of the subject matter. As one comment put it, the artist is selling expertise in artwork, not religious guidance.
Makes sense. Skill versus belief. Got it.
Thirdly, maybe reflect on the nature of spiritual value itself. Is it inherent in the object based on the creator, or is it subjective?
Oh, yeah.
The discussion suggests it can be highly subjective and, importantly, might not depend only on the creator's faithful intention. Many religious traditions actually have ways to imbue an object with spiritual significance like blessings after it's made, regardless of its origin.
Like blessing the house built by non-Christian builders.
Exactly that. So the value can potentially be added or recognized later by the faithful community or individual.
Okay, that's a big one. Assumptions, skill versus belief, nature of value, anything else?
Yeah, one final kind of poignant observation that came up repeatedly in the comments. It was about how quickly the discussion, for some, touched on judgment within faith communities.
Yes, so.
Several commenters used phrases like, no hate like Christian love, lamenting what they saw as judgmental behavior from the client, which seemed to them at odds with Christian teachings.
Wow, that's strong wording.
It is. It highlighted this perceived gap between, stated beliefs and actual actions. People pointed to Jesus' own interactions, suggesting the client maybe needed to read his own book more.
Implying a disconnect with core principles.
Right. Someone even specifically cited the Bible verse, "Judge not, lest ye be judged," from Matthew 7, as pretty relevant to the whole exchange.
Okay, so that adds another layer, the reaction within the faith community itself, or at least how others perceive it.
Definitely.
So this deep dive, all from one Reddit post, really shows so much about our expectations, our hidden assumptions, and that really complex place where belief meets business. It really makes you think. Here's a final thought for you to chew on. If the spiritual value of an object, like that artwork, can truly be given to it by a blessing after it's created, does the creator's personal belief actually matter in the end?
Or is it the observer's faith, the recipient's belief, that ultimately gives the art its power and meaning?
And maybe zooming out even more,
Hmm.
How do our own unseen assumptions, the ones we carry around every day, shape how we experience the world? What might we be missing? What connections might we be failing to make just because we haven't questioned them?